For the last couple of years, the G Pro line has been LG's answer to Samsung's Galaxy Note phablets. Unlike Samsung's Notes, however, LG's G Pro phones just didn't seem to strike a chord with consumers who were on the lookout for a super-sized smartphone. Perhaps, it was the lack of any major distinguishing features that prevented the G Pro from being noticed by the wider audience. Maybe, simply having an extra-large display was no longer enough to secure the win in the phablet category. Maybe, LG needed to come up with its own S Pen kind of feature that would make its device stand out from the hordes of Note wannabes. You know what? It might have come up with just that. While initially it might appear to be just another experimental device from LG, the new V10 Jumbo smartphone might very well take the place of the uninspiring G Pro line for good. Here's the deal, the LG V10 may have just a marginally larger screen than that of the LG G4, but it comes with a unique trick of its own, a secondary display that's always on to show you the time and date, notifications, or next calendar event. Could this be the special ingredient to make phablets work for LG? Note, we're reviewing the South Korean model of the LG V10. It's basically identical to the global one, though some minor aspects of the experience might vary from region to region. In the box, LG V10 wall charger, 5V or 9V, 1.8A USB cable quad B3 earphones papers. Design a bunch of good ideas, marred by materials that are too ordinary, and boring colors. The V10's rear power key now doubles as a fingerprint sensor. The LG V10 feels like a very different smartphone from the G4. While LG's top device is gently curved, compact and soft, especially if it's outfitted with any of the leather back options, the V10 is flat, large and sturdy. This is, unmistakably, the phablet in LG's lineup. It bears some of the company's typical design characteristics, like the minimal top and bottom bezels, as well as the power and volume buttons situated on the rear, but it's by no means a larger version of the G4. The V10's exterior design is a mixed bag. It's thoughtfully shaped, good-looking even, but the materials and colors that finish off the package are rather bland. Worst is the backside, which looks and feels surprisingly rough. After the delicate, sophisticated leather designs that LG introduced with the G4, it's strange to see it revert to a cheapo, rubbery plastic for the V10. The available color variants also fail to hit the right notes, not least because they are boring. But the shape of the phone is appealing, while the unique stainless steel bars on the flanks add a much-needed element of elegance to the body. They are a really cool idea, because 1, they look good and different from what's out there, and 2, they aren't as slippery as the rest of the phone, due to their smooth, glossy finish. The V10 is a well-balanced appearance, but sadly, the same cannot be said about its weight, as this overly large phone ultimately comes off as a bit top-heavy. It's not the most comfortable handset to hold and work with, but it's tolerable. LG is staying true to its rear keys concept, and that's okay, because getting used to their offbeat positioning isn't so difficult. What we can't get used to, however, is the unpleasant wobbliness of the power/lock key, which doesn't feel particularly well crafted. The good news is that it now doubles as a fingerprint scanner, which works well. There's the odd failed reading attempt at times, but the success rate is still high enough. To see the phones in real size or compare them with other models, visit our visual phone size comparison page. Display the LG V10 secondary display is a neat idea that needs better execution. LG V10 review equipped with a 5.7 panel, the V10 is undoubtedly for the fans of extra-large screens. Resolution is extremely high, at 1440 x 2560 pixels, which tastes like an overkill even for this screen size, but we'd rather not take part in them specs wars. Bottom line is that legibility is great. The IPS LCD screen LG has used looks good, but is too contrasty, it doesn't appear all that natural. The same goes for the color balance, it suffers from a desperate need of red, but this is a need we know will never be fulfilled, so the V10 screen will remain as it is for the remaining time of its lifespan, cold and blue. By itself, it doesn't necessarily come off as lifeless. But once you compare it against a quality screen that has even the faintest respect for colors, you'll immediately notice its disadvantage. Check out the measurements we've done in the chart below. The high color temperature, high gamma, and high delta E values all corroborate our observations. But it's not all bad. Outside visibility is good enough, while reading in the dark won't destroy your vision, thanks to the satisfying minimum brightness level. Up to this point, everything sounded fairly ordinary. This is where it gets interesting. These days, everyone's looking to have some sort of gimmick, something to produce hype and draw interest towards the product. Samsung's Galaxy Note has the S Pen, Apple's iPhone 6 Seconds Plus has live photos, HTC used to put 2 rear cameras in its phones. Now, LG has one in the V10 as well, a secondary screen. It's a short LCD panel strip that's fitted right above the main display. Yeah, right next to the duo of selfie cameras. If this is getting a bit weird, don't worry, there's nothing too complex to wrap your head around here. It's all fairly simple, actually. Apparently, the 5.7 display of the V10 does not provide enough screen space for LG's software designers to fit everything they want, so a second panel is in order. Users who aren't into the idea of it can turn it off, because it provides only auxiliary functions. But why would you buy a V10 if you're going to avoid its standout feature? Anyway, the small, second display is always on. When the phone is sleeping, the second display continues to work, displaying the time and date, as well as any notifications that may arrive. It's a fun, useful concept, but also one that feels severely compromised. The second display is LCD, meaning there's a backlight that's always working to make it visible. This tends to consume more power than an old display used in the same manner, because old displays can light up only certain pixels, leaving the rest completely off, saving power. Because of this, LG is keeping the backlight of the second LCD screen relatively low, because it's not supposed to waste too much battery power. The end result is this: when the phone is in sleep, the secondary display is so dim, it's hardly visible with the phone lying on a table, not least because LCD screens lose brightness and contrast when looked from an angle, unlike OLEDs, which experience color shifts, but stay bright and easily visible. So, LG's decision to use an LCD panel for the secondary screen is perplexing, to say the least. It also makes for an awkward appearance in the dark, when the dedicated and not so even backlight becomes evident. It's not a big issue, but one that takes away from the V10's already limited stock of elegance points.